in our divisions where we had strong mentoring cultures, this was really seen as paperwork. Busy work from the department, one more form to fill out. It goes to the bottom of the to-do list. So this was not a success. And as we reviewed, looked back at this over the 4 years and talked to some folks, the reviews ranged from a mixed success to abject failure. And that vote for abject failure came from our vice chair for research. And so what we finally realized was that we needed the input from the people who were going through this, from the mentors, from the junior faculty. I have no idea why we didn't recognize this from the beginning. One of my research techniques is in needs assessment and understanding needs and how to do this kind of research, but we just didn't do it. So we went back to square one. We invoked research expertise that said, let's do some focus groups, let's do some tailored interviews, let's figure out what really went wrong here and how we can fix it. So what we got back from our junior faculty and the mentors was that this process felt like it was redundant to the annual review. They all went through, or most of them went through annual reviews, and this really just was something to do on top of that, and there was no value added to this process. This idea of a committee of senior faculty was great in theory, but just try and get the chair of a department and your division chief and a busy clinician together, and that was not going to happen. It was impossible to make that happen for some folks. The idea that as a junior faculty member I would say something bad about my division chief or my mentor, who's a full professor in my department when they hold the keys to my promotion, was incredibly naive. It was just not an easy thing for a junior faculty member to do. And one suggestion was a career mentor, someone outside of your path of promotion who you could go to in confidence and say, I can't get my mentor's ear, or my division chief doesn't understand me, and get that kind of confidential assistance. The junior folks also wanted more opportunities for interaction and collaboration with each other. They wanted working groups where they could get together and talk through their issues as peers and not hierarchically. And they also wanted a formal curriculum. They were ready to come once a month or once a quarter to a seminar or a session on a particular aspect of continued training and growth and development. So we took all of this input, went back, thought these thoughts again, and came up with a revised program which we implemented just last year, so I don't have a lot of data on it. But I can tell you what we've done and what I think were the improvements. So we went back to the single mentor system, where every person would have a mentor, and for new faculty coming in, we were not going to wait until they'd been here to do this, but we'd make sure during recruitment that there was a good mentor for that person. Because we had instances where someone came in because they filled a niche that we needed, or they were a spousal recruit, or there was some reason that this person came, but there wasn't good expertise to mentor that person in their particular area. And so they were a little bit lost and at sea, and that's a real problem. And so we wanted to identify that primary mentor at the time of recruitment. We still want to do the professional development plan because that was a useful bit of data for us to look at centrally to know how people were doing. That would be filled out by the mentor and mentee together and submitted. In addition, the mentor would still fill out a review of the mentee. That was still seen as a valuable piece. But one of the breakdowns in the previous system was that those pieces of paper came to the central office and disappeared into a black hole and were never heard of again. So Bill would look at them, he might make a phone call to the chief or say something to the chair, but there was no understanding of what happened to that paperwork. So what we did was we put into place a mentoring review committee, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. But that committee reviewed all of this paperwork and actually generated feedback that went to all of the relevant parties. So we would generate a letter and said, this is how you're doing, and that would go to the faculty member, to the mentor, the division chief, and the department chair. So everyone would know how things are going with all of these folks. So this mentoring review committee, we set up like an NIH study session. We picked 9 senior faculty. These were hand-picked folks who had a commitment to mentoring, who had some experience in mentoring, but who were not division chiefs, so that there was not a potential problem here with hierarchy. All of the plans were parsed out then to each member of the committee. Each review was read by 3 committee members, so each committee member got about 8 or 10 of these things. And then when the committee met as a whole, the 3 reviewers would report on their findings related to this faculty member. That might range from they're on track, they are okay, but there's some concerns to, there's some real major concerns here with this person. And we would discuss this as a committee, then come to consensus on what the key elements are, and those key elements were then used to write the feedback letters that would go to folks. So in your packets is an example, a blinded example of one of those letters that's got all the sort of stock verbiage. And then I'll just go through 3 or 4 examples of the specific feedback that specific faculty members got. So one person got one that said, you're on track, but you might want to look at doing a few more senior author publications because that's going to be the key to getting your R01. And that was the style of letter that most folks got. And I don't remember the numbers, but certainly more than half, probably about 2/3 of the faculty, the 40 or so participants, got these letters saying things are generally good. A few folks got, an extra pat on the back. They said, wow, you're on track and you're really doing especially good in funding or in publications, possibly in service. Whatever the committee members noted in particular about that faculty member, we wanted to make sure that they knew this was specific to them, that there was something about them, that this wasn't just a form letter. So there were a few folks who had some minor concerns. One might be publications. In the case of this particular faculty member, it was maintaining protected time. They were in a very clinically intensive division, and there was a strong pull towards generating revenue. So that was a concern that they get that protected time. And there were a few folks for whom there were major concerns. In this particular case, there was a lack of focus. This person had a lot of ideas, a lot of energy, but they were having trouble finding what their niche was, what their particular area was going to be where they were going to make a difference in the department. So those are just a few examples of how this process worked out. We did additional elements of this program. This committee review wasn't the only aspect of mentoring that the department ran centrally. We organized a junior faculty working group. And this, I can't say was an overall success. They never quite knew what they wanted to be. And they didn't all have a common vision of what this working group should be. Some wanted to review grant proposals. Some wanted to talk about their work and what might be a grant proposal. Some wanted just a coffee clutch where they could, kvetch with each other. We did a few of these. The group attendance went up and down. I'm not sure where this particular element is because we couldn't quite figure out what the right focus of that group should be.